Hey, what's going on, everyone? In this video, I'm going to talk about a framework that I have for learning, which I learned pretty early on in my life and which has really, really helped me. It has made learning skills so much easier. It has made figuring out kind of where I am and where I need to go and what I need to do to get there much, much easier. Um, it's a great recipe, and in this video, I'm going to explain it. So first off, I didn't make up this recipe myself. I didn't invent this. I learned this from someone named Eben Pagan when I was a late teen, I would say. And it immediately struck me as something practically useful. That's what I was looking for at the time, something that I can practically use to learn stuff. My whole life was about learning then, and it still is. It always has been. I'm obsessed with learning. I'm curious. I want to know how things work. I want to be able to do things. So this was like kind of how it got into my brain. This framework has 5 steps. I'm going to read the steps to you. I'm going to go through kind of what they mean, and then we'll look at how most people approach things, which is literally the opposite of this. And then I'll give an example of how you might apply this. Now, the examples I'm going to use are tech related, but this works for everything. This is not just about learning tech. Really, you can apply this anywhere in your life where you are lacking some understanding, some skill, an ability to do something that you want to do. So step 1 is imitate the best until you're getting consistent results. Every word in there matters. That's how it was taught to me, and that is how I've internalized it. And I suggest you do the same for maximum benefit. Find someone who is an expert and look at what they are doing and try to imitate that. Step 2 is learn to make finer and finer distinctions until you can see why each approach works. So this is about understanding why certain behaviors, commands, things result in certain outcomes. Number 3 is learn to assign higher or lower value to a vast amount of different mindsets, behaviors, and results. Number 4 is create variations on the best of those ideas. And then number 5 is actually innovate yourself. Then you're ready to innovate. Come up with your own ideas. So I'm going to use the example of my WordPress Udemy course to show how people approach this the opposite way. First off, I don't mean any disrespect to anyone. I actually admire people who manage to shove themselves through the opposite way. I support your freedom-seeking and enterprising nature. I respect you. Good for you. However, it's not the easiest way to do anything. So the approach that I see them make, and something I'm completely guilty of in my own life, most of us, we start by saying, oh yeah, WordPress, I see there's some apt-get install stuff there, and then you download the WordPress thing. Okay, like, I got it. And if we're totally new to everything, we will look at just those commands, try to do it, and then we get excited by some new web framework or some new web application. We try to install that instead. Well, now nothing in the course makes sense. We're trying to cobble everything together, troubleshoot a problem that is like totally unsupported. They're getting errors that are like hard to figure out because no one else has asked those questions because everyone else was following along with the course. It becomes, you're fighting against actually getting anything done because you're trying to innovate before you even know what's going on. Then they go to step 4 from 5, which is create variations on the best ideas. Well, they don't know the best ideas yet. They only know a few things that worked, a few things that didn't work. This is the kind of thing that results in chmod 777 everything, and then all those permissions errors go away. It's like, yeah, that is a local maximum. That's the best idea you've found. It's actually still a terrible idea. Just because it gets things working isn't a good reason to do that. So this picking the best ideas, you can't do that until you've kind of audited all of the big ideas that are actually out there. And if you made up all the ideas you don't actually know what's best. So that is step 2 that people try, which is actually step 4. Then they move on to step 3, learn to assign higher and lower value to kind of different inputs based on the results. We have so few inputs that actually work that your picture of this is totally skewed, and you might latch on to like the one thing that works without knowing that there's a much, much, much better way of doing it. And after that, step 2, learn to make finer and finer distinctions until you can clearly see why each approach works. At best, the result is going to be you understand why one way of doing it works, and that's just like your favorite way. We're always going to do it this way. This is all I know and understand. And it becomes like the hammer. Like everything's a nail. I'm going to smash. This is my tool. Like you got a screw, we're going to hammer it in. You need a pry bar, I'm just going to hammer that thing off. It's like your favorite technique, your favorite operating system, your favorite, like, Linux distribution. People that know very little about how things work and why things work, they have good results, and then they just pick the tools that led to those things and try to use them everywhere, even in wildly inappropriate places. Finally, these people usually arrive, and by these people I mean me in the past also. Finally, they arrive at step 1, which is they get so frustrated that finally they're like, screw it, I'm going through a tutorial, I'm just going to copy and paste everything just to prove that I'm not insane and that things actually work. And that step 1 is like imitate the best until you're getting consistent results. And how many of us have ended up there after fighting upstream for a weekend or a week or a month or an entire job? You're so frustrated that you're like, fine, I will finally try doing things by the book until I know what's going on. And that's kind of the reverse path that people can take through these steps. I'm not saying you can't do it. It's just going to hurt a lot and take really long. So if you don't like pain and you want to get things done, trying these things, the non-intuitive, maybe the opposite way from step 1 going to step 5, can be tremendously useful. So to give a quick example of, again, this just doesn't apply to tech skills necessarily. This is just like a tech channel, so I'm talking about that. But I'll just use a different example to kind of show the right way of going through this. So step 1, imitate the best until you're getting consistent results. Say you are a brand new DevOps engineer or a brand new software engineer. Did I just say DevOps engineer? It really is a job role now. You know what, people? I don't care that it's not supposed to be a job role. It's a job role at this point. If there's 1,000 Indeed job ads that say so, I'm gonna stop fighting this particular philosophical fight. It reminds me of the Free Libre fight or the GNU Linux fight. It's just like, okay, if you want to spend time doing that, okay, I'm not going to do it. Imitate the best until you're getting consistent results. You have a brand new job. You are working under someone that you might be able to kind of treat as a mentor. You do a lot of work, you read a lot, you study a lot, and then you ask well-informed questions. That person starts mentoring you, teaching you things, telling you what to watch out for. You imitate them. You watch them at work. You adopt their habits. Even though this is a bit cargo culting at first, you're just like, this person does this magic and then the cargo falls out of the sky and we get, delicious spam. Sooner or later, you actually start to realize, oh, that is why this person's doing it, because that one time I didn't do it, I caused an outage because I didn't double check to make sure, which server I was logged into, or I didn't do a SQL dump before doing that upgrade, or what have you. So at first, you're imitating the best blindly. Then you learn how to make finer and finer distinctions until you can clearly see why each thing works and not. I guess I already covered that step just now. That leads into learn to assign higher and lower value to different mindsets, behaviors, and results. Now that you understand why certain things work, you can say, oh, this is a good approach, this is less good for these reasons, for these specific reasons in these specific situations, right? You're making fine distinctions. It's not just what's the best Linux distro, it's what's the best Linux distro for this specific use case, this specific company. So that's creating the value system, which leads to step 4, create variations on the best of those ideas. So when you find some things that work really well, say you're like probably doing more architecture-y things, you can understand why building different systems different ways with different tools or different technologies results in different behaviors and different kind of constraints on your system or kind of promises it can make. Well, you understand that now. So you can actually create and test variations. So this is like very much a scientific method thing, right? Now you're making up new stuff, seeing how it performs, learning even more, changing that a little, seeing how that behaves. It's that feedback loop. Finally, at the very end, and this isn't the end, of course, this is probably the beginning of a new cycle, but you're at step 5, and in that sub-skill or the skill you're studying or that group of skills you're studying in the wider context of the world that you know nothing about, now you can actually innovate in that space. You have enough of an accurate internal model of how this tiny world that you have been studying works that you can make accurate predictions about how things that you've never seen will probably play out and probably work. It's tremendously useful. Now you can actually make up something new. You can use tools that say they have one purpose and everyone thinks that's just what you do with it. You can use them for a completely different purpose and have them work amazingly. And people will be like, wow, I never thought to use Logstash in that way. And you can say, oh, well, actually, you can think of it as a bunch of pipes going anywhere. So you don't have to just shove logs in there. You can do all kinds of freaky stuff with it. And people will say, oh, it's on the tin, it says logs, so I only used it for logs. So that you're no longer bound to this superficial understanding of everything. You can actually innovate because you know the reality of the tools you're dealing with, the skills you're dealing with. And again, this isn't just about technology, right? This can apply to a single skill, a group of skills, like tech in general, like software development, like operating systems, like reliability engineering, performance engineering, whatever. It can apply to running a company. It can apply to managing a team. It can apply to relationships. It can apply to literally anything in your life that you're trying to solve. You can get a skill to deal with that thing. And if you have a framework that works for you for acquiring skills efficiently, quickly, painlessly, and testing against reality to make sure the way you think things work is actually how they work, this scientific method predictive power thing that separates scientists from loony conspiracy theorists, that will just be the way you approach things. And this kind of thing, if you start thinking about things this way, at least when I started thinking about things this way, it just supercharged my life. I have been able to acquire so many skills, have so many different interesting experiences and careers, and make so many things possible that I think I would have never known how to approach. So I think this fits very well into a tech mindset, a software mindset, an operating systems mindset, because in tech, we deal with abstraction. We deal with how do we make the API? What is a powerful way to think about this? Lisp is really good at talking about this thing. What is the most powerful abstraction we can make? And to me, this is easily the most powerful abstraction I've ever found for the idea of learning, of mastering things, of just developing myself as a person. So it ain't a religion. It's just something that I have found helpful. And I hope that you find it helpful too, because this kind of thing, this specific framework has kind of underpinned everything I've learned in technology. And as a result, everything that you've seen on this channel. I hope that helps somebody out there. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.